The Pridelands were peaceful once again, thriving under the rule of King Simba and Queen Nala. The circle of life had been restored, and the land was full of vibrant life. Birds chirped joyfully, herds roamed freely, and all animals lived in harmony. Simba had worked hard to bring back the Pride's happiness after the dark days when Scar ruled. The Pridelands were a place of hope once more, but this didn't mean all danger was gone, because Zira was still plotting a revenge for Scar's death. One bright morning, a special event took place at Pride Rock. All the animals gathered around Pride Rock, excited to welcome the new royal cub. Rafiki, the wise old baboon, stood at the edge of Pride Rock, holding a tiny cub in his hands. He lifted her high into the air for all the animals to see. Timon and Pumba already saw a vision of their life. They could finally raise a cub again, they thought. But that was before they realized it was a girl. When they heard this, they fainted and reconsidered their plans. The tiny cub's name was Kiara. The crowd cheered, roaring with joy. Kiara represented a bright future for the Pridelands. As Kiara grew, it was clear that she had a spark of adventure in her. She loved exploring every corner of the Pridelands. Her parents, Simba and Nala, loved her deeply, but they often worried about her safety. "Kiara, you must remember to stay within the borders," Simba often reminded her. "There are dangers out there that you cannot face alone." Kiara would nod, but deep down, she felt curious about what lay beyond the Pridelands. Then, one day, she went out again, looking for new adventures, but again her dad sent Timon and Pumba to watch her. While they were arguing about bugs, Kiara saw her chance. Finally, she thought, and ran for a different path to get rid of Timon and Pumba. But at this point, she was getting a bit far from Pride Rock. As Kiara wandered off, she slipped from a branch and bumped into a strange lion she hadn't seen before. While they first didn't like each other, eventually they had to team up because as this strange lion was telling Kiara she was Daddy's little girl and told her that outsiders took care of themselves, he didn't even realize he was stepping on crocodiles. Kiara was interested in the strange lion and followed him, also walking on the back of crocodiles. By the time the two cubs realized where they were walking, it was almost too late. The crocodiles almost got them, but Kiara jumped on his mouth and saved the strange small lion just in time. Together, they ran off to safety. Now they realized they could be a pretty good team, and the strange lion told Kiara his name was KOVU. As Kiara was happily celebrating their victory, a lioness was spying on them from the bushes. This was the evil Zira. But luckily for Kiara, Simba had found her just in time. He stepped in, and Zira angrily growled back. Simba reminded Zira again that she was forbidden in the Pridelands, and told her to take her cub and leave. They then both took their cubs and went back to their homes. While Simba took Kiara back to the Pridelands, he taught her some important lessons. He told her about the importance of the circle of life again, and that she had to be the queen one day. But even Rafiki was worried about Zira and her evil lions. He asked Mufasa for help, because KOVU was growing stronger and filled with the evil thoughts of his mother. Rafiki wasn't sure what he was capable of. Mufasa was the father of Simba. He had completed his circle of life and was now giving advice from up in the sky. But then, Mufasa told them they had to be together. Kiara and KOVU together? What a crazy idea, thought Rafiki. But Mufasa seemed to know what he was doing, so Rafiki trusted him. He patiently sat back and watched Kiara grow. But then, something else happened in the Pridelands. On another beautiful day, Kiara became a big sister. Rafiki proudly got to present Simba's son, Kion. While Kiara was already preparing for her queenly duties, her little brother was still very playful. just like she had been while she was younger. But eventually he also got a big role in the Pridelands, because he became the leader of the Lion Guard. There hasn't been a Lion Guard for a long time, but finally the Pridelands got a group of protectors once more. But there was something that Kion and his guard couldn't help the animals with. Because it was the dry season in the Pridelands, and the elephants couldn't find any water, Kiara saw it as an opportunity to help and get to work with Matembo, the leader of the elephant herd, so she went to help her. But first, she got to meet the new apprentice of Rafiki, Makini. Makini was in training to also become a royal Mjuzi someday. The talkative Makini saw this as a chance to get to know Kiara, so she went with her to help Matembo look for new water. But they didn't realize there was danger coming for them. Kiara was hearing some strange things, but couldn't really place what it was since Makini kept on talking. But then the hyenas came flying at them and grabbed Kiara and Makini's Bakura staff. Kiara was dragged all the way to the Outlands by the hyenas and got dumped in between some geysers. Makini rushed back to the Lion Guard to warn them, and they all ran to the Outlands to save Kiara. But this time, the attack seemed different. Kion wondered why they would take Kiara. He thought it was probably because they needed something from him or his dad, but it wasn't what he expected. Of course, the Lion Guard defeated the hyenas and brought Kiara to safety, but just as Kion was about to leave, Janja threatened him and his family. Kion became enraged and roared at him, but what Kion didn't know was that this was exactly what the hyenas wanted. Because now, with the help of the roar and Makini's Bakura staff, they got to bring back Scar's evil spirit to life. This brought a lot of new dangers to the Pridelands. Once Scar was back, he kept on sending new attacks to the Pridelands, which kept Kiara very busy. So one day, her best friends, Tifu and Zuri, wanted to do a girls' day again. A spa day at the mud pool. Since this mud pool was on the edge of the Pridelands, Nala really wanted Kion and Bunga to go with them to protect them. So they all went to the mud pool to have a spa day. They were all relaxing except for Kion. He was keeping watch. It was all fun until Kion heard a noise. Then a vulture appeared and threw sticks with a fire at them. Before they knew it, they were all surrounded by fire. The fire kept on coming closer, and just when they thought there was no way out, Kion saw something. There was a cave, an aardvark's den. They rushed inside just in time. It was dark, with all kinds of strange noises. Tifu was terrified, but then they heard an angry scream, and something jumped out of the ground. A little golden mole jumped on Kion's nose, because he thought they were tunnel thieves. When the mole got to know them and understood they were just trying to get home, he got a lot friendlier and tried to help them find their way out. He helped them in the right direction, and they were slowly getting closer to daylight. They even bumped into a zebra that also got lost down there. Eventually, though, they got some help from an aardvark and all found their way out. Back at Pride Rock, they got some rest, and the next day, they all continued on their duties again. But soon, new attacks from the Outlands kept on coming. So then Simba and Kion came up with the idea to create their own army. They gathered all the animals in the Pridelands and teamed up together. Simba ordered Kion to lead the attack first thing in the morning, but there was something they didn't realize. The Outlanders had their own plan and attacked Pride Rock at night. They tried to trap the animals in fire, but their plan failed and everyone made it out safe. Kion made a plan to defeat Scar the next morning. The sun rose and all the animals were ready for their attack. They ran into the Outlands and Kion and his guard went up to the volcano to defeat Scar. But what he didn't realize was that Scar also had a plan. Kion was bitten by a venomous snake named Ushari, an ally of Scar, but this didn't stop him from defeating him. He asked the lions of the past to forgive Scar, and that is how he was defeated. But Kion wasn't the only one to get hurt, because Ono had also damaged his eyes due to the smoke of the volcano, so they went to Rafiki to seek help. According to Rafiki, the venom of the snake bite would make you lose control of seeing what is wrong and what is right if it doesn't get treated. Therefore, Rafiki sent Kion to the Tree of Life to be healed. The Tree of Life was a place far away from the Pridelands where all the animals go to seek treatment when they do not know what else to do. Kion and his guard were all set to begin on their long journey to the Tree of Life, and even Makini joined them on their journey because she had already been there once. Kion then said goodbye to Kiara and his parents. Nala wished him good luck and hoped he would be back in time for Kiara's first hunt, since this was a really special thing in the Pridelands. As days passed, Kiara trained to become the future queen of the Pridelands. Simba taught her the importance of responsibility and caring for the animals. Therefore, she was ready for her first hunt. Unfortunately, Kion had not returned yet, but she still had plenty of other lionesses that were there to wish her good luck. So Kiara set off for her first hunt, and Simba promised to let her do this on her own. But Simba didn't keep his promise. He sent Timon and Pumba after her to check if she was safe. When Kiara found out about this, she angrily ran off and told Timon and Pumba she would do her first hunt on her own outside the Pridelands. But there was something else she didn't know. Because in the meantime, Zira had come up with another plan. She wanted KOVU to join Simba's pride with the help of Kiara. And then, when Simba wasn't expecting it, he would kill him. So during Kiara's first hunt, Zira made Vitani and Nuka, her other two kids, plant fires so that Kiara would be trapped. Kiara tried to hunt for a gazelle, but she made a noise, so they all ran off. But then, all of a sudden, they ran back to her, and when she looked closer, she saw a big fire behind them. Kiara ran off, but the fire got even bigger and bigger. Eventually, she climbed a small rock and was safe for a little while, but not for long. She passed out on the rock, but then a face appeared in the smoke. It was KOVU. He took her on his back and ran, saving her from the fire. Eventually, he saw no other way out. He jumped into the water and then dragged Kiara to safety. But then, when Simba appeared, Simba learned that KOVU had saved Kiara. He was suspicious. He believed Zira had a plan to use KOVU against them, but Kiara defended KOVU, insisting he was different. Eventually, Simba allowed KOVU to stay in the Pridelands, but he kept a close watch. Kiara found KOVU really interesting. As he was lying down to get some sleep, she thanked him for saving her, but then he got an attitude and made fun of her hunting skills. So Kiara said, "I suppose you could teach me?" So she told him to impress her, and they would start at dawn. The next morning, Kiara and KOVU went out together. They ran into Timon and Pumba, who were trying to grab some bugs, but they needed some help since there were birds everywhere. Kiara roared at the birds, scaring them away. KOVU was confused. What was the point of all of this? What would they learn from this? "This was for fun," said Kiara. "Fun?" asked KOVU. But once he tried it, he had a great time. They spent the whole day laughing together and watched the stars at night. The next day, KOVU went on a walk with Simba. They were talking about Scar until they heard something. The sound of growls came closer and closer. It was Zira with her lions. Zira made it seem like KOVU had betrayed Simba, and they all attacked, except for KOVU. He tried to help Simba, but got swept away. Simba nearly escaped, but unfortunately, KOVU's brother Nuka died during the fight. Simba was injured, but tried to get back to Pride Rock. On his way back, Kiara saw him struggling and went to help immediately, and took her father back to Pride Rock. But then KOVU also returned to Pride Rock, He tried to explain he had nothing to do with the ambush, but Simba refused to believe him and exiled him. Kiara was broken. Her father told her she wasn't allowed to leave Pride Rock without an escort from now on, since he wanted her to stay away from KOVU. Kiara ran off, crying, but then she saw something. A ray of sunshine was coming through the cave, which meant there was a way out. She ran off to look for KOVU. She had been looking for hours, and it was already dark. Just as she was about to give up, she heard a voice behind her. It was KOVU. They were overjoyed to see each other. KOVU wanted to run off and start their own pride and create a new happy family. But Kiara made him realize that if they would run off, they would divide their prides forever. So they came up with a plan. They wanted to get both their prides together and show them that they were actually all the same and that there was no need to fight. They wanted to bring their prides together so that they could all live in harmony. They knew they had to be fast. KOVU knew Zira was even more angry at Simba now that Nuka had died, so they ran back to Pride Rock. But on their way, they saw what they had feared was already happening. The fight had already begun, so Kiara and KOVU rushed over to help. Just when Zira was about to attack Simba, Kiara and KOVU jumped in between. Kiara told her father that this had to stop. She told him to look at Zira's lions. "We're all the same. They are just like us," Kiara said. And with her wise words, she made everyone realize there was no need to fight. Except for Zira. She told Simba there was no letting go and tried to attack him, but Kiara saw it coming and jumped in between just in time. They tumbled down the cliff, but Kiara could grab a rock just in time. Zira was hanging above the edge, fighting for her life. Kiara had meant what she said. There was no need to fight anymore, so she offered Zira her paw. But Zira refused. Instead, she tried to hit Kiara's paw with her claws. Kiara offered her help once more, but Zira still couldn't find peace, and so she fell down into the rushing water below, ending her circle of life right there. But all of this did make Simba realize that KOVU was on the right side. He invited him and the members of Zira's group to the Pridelands, but unfortunately, Kiara's brother Kion still had not returned. That is why KOVU's sister Vitani had created a new lion guard to protect the Pridelands. Even though there were no threats for now, some animals in the Pridelands still got themselves into trouble sometimes. Days passed, and all the lions were adapting to their new lifestyle. But then, Kiara heard noise coming from the outlands. When she ran over to check it out, she saw that Kion had finally returned. He was facing Vitani and her lion guard, but Kion didn't know Zira's lions had joined the Pridelands, so he was about to attack at first. Kiara came to the rescue and explained that a lot had happened while he was away. Back at Pride Rock, KOVU and Rafiki explained what exactly happened while they were away. But now, there were 2 lion guards, so they made up a test. After some challenges of who got to stay the lion guard of the Pridelands, Kion realized it should be Vitani and her guard, since she was fierce enough to face him without the roar. So then, Kion passed on the roar to Vitani, with the words of Askari, leader of the first lion guard, echoing through his mind. Only the one that can let go of the roar completely can truly master it. But when Askari saw that Kion passed on the roar, he knew he should have it back. So he gave Kion the roar to use it at the Tree of Life again. Kiara was overjoyed. Her brother was going to be a king as well, but this meant she wouldn't see him as much as she did now, and that made her sad. But it was already time for Kion to go back to the Tree of Life, so all the animals of the Pridelands started their journey to see Kion become a king. Kiara felt super proud of her little brother, and seeing the love between Kion and Rani, she realized she also found something beautiful with KOVU. As they set back on their journey to the Pridelands, they talked about their future, how they were going to raise their little cubs and teach them all about the circle of life. They realized they were almost ready to start their new family when they would reach Pride Rock, and with that thought, they happily continued back on their journey to the Pridelands.